Hey, hello, bonjour, and welcome back to this channel. Eran Stern here for Stern Effects, and in this tutorial we'll see how to integrate After Effects and Cinema 4D using CINEWARE. This tutorial is part of a series called 3D in After Effects, where I'm showing all kinds of 3D techniques and tools that you can use with After Effects to work faster and smarter. Now this time we're going to see how to export an After Effects scene, or actually camera and few 3D layers, to Cinema 4D and then extrude the text over there. We'll also add some 3D objects and create a wireframe look, and then bring everything back inside After Effects to finish the compositing using the CINEWARE plugin. Now, even if you are not using Cinema 4D, I still recommend to continue watching, as you may see things that you don't know and also learn what's possible. Now, I'm going to use the full version of Cinema 4D, but almost everything I'll show you here will be possible with the light version that comes free with After Effects. So if you're ready, then I'm ready. It means that we are both ready. So let's stop with the readiness and begin already. As always, I want to start by reviewing what I've prepared ahead of time here inside After Effects. So we have this Paris clip that you can get for free by visiting the link underneath this video. This is courtesy of Adobe Stock, and here is the page with the clip. So as always, you have an HD or 4K resolutions. You can use whatever you like. I already placed it here in the timeline. I'm going to stop the playback and show you that I tracked the shot using the camera tracker, the 3D camera tracker, which for me is much more convenient and I feel more comfortable using. So since we already have this 3D camera information with the camera, I want to move it to Cinema 4D and show you what's possible over there. Why? Because I already created this text, converted it to a 3D object, and just if you are curious, I'm using the Meno Banner condensed font, which I believe you can sync from Adobe Font. So if you want, you can use this font as well. I also want to call your attention to the fact that I've converted this font to a shape layer. So I have another copy over here. I'm going to switch it off, and this will be important when we are bringing this file to Cinema 4D. And the reason is because I've changed here the kerning between the letters, and I want to maintain the same thing over there and also preserve the full capability of an editable text, which is text that you can eat. Anyhow, I want to also show you that on top of this, I have a masked version of this layer that I created ahead of time. Now, this is basically using another 3D layer that I extracted automatically from the 3D camera tracker, and then I created a simple mask and animated the mask. So most of the motion for this layer is given to us for free using the 3D camera tracker effect, and of course, I'm using it here inside After Effects with a track matte option. So this layer is covering the information that I want to hide, so those letters, the Paris letters, will look as if they are inside the scene, behind the buildings, just near the Eiffel Tower. The last thing that I have over here is a point light, so something super simple, just to bring a little bit more dimension to those letters. That's it. I'm now ready to export this to Cinema 4D, which is what I'll do now. I'll make sure the composition is selected, and then I'll go to the File menu here inside After Effects, and under Export, I'll choose Maxon Cinema 4D Exporter. And then After Effects is going to shout at me. It's a little bit stressful message. However, all it says here that 2D layers are found in this composition, and these layers will not be exported. That's it. So I'm going to say OK, and now I'm going to be prompted with this option. I can extrude the text as shapes. It says highest fidelity export. I can also preserve editable text, and maintain the ability to change the font and text content over there in Cinema 4D. And this is what I'm going to choose. It's a little bit misleading because you may think this is not high quality, but believe me, both of them are the same quality. So if you have a live text, this is what I recommend. And this is why I kept another version here in my timeline in the form of a shape layer. So let's see how everything is going to be translated when I'm going to hit OK. First, I need to save this. I'm going to save it as Paris Begin. This is the name of my composition. I'll click Save. And then I'll switch to Cinema 4D, which on my machine is already running in the background. I'll go to the File menu, choose Open Project, navigate to where I just saved the scene. This is it. And I'll click Open. Now, if I'm going to scrub the timeline here, we can see that there is some sort of emotion. We can also see over here, there is like a main null here, which takes its name from the project and then the comp name. So first I'll double click on it and I'm just going to remove everything. I'm going to leave myself with the name Paris, open up this null object and show you that underneath we have our light, our camera, our city mask, which is a redundant layer. This is a 2D layer. So I can select and press delete to delete this. And then I've got two nulls or two groups. The first one is the shape layer over here. So what I can do is select everything here. And because this is just for reference, I'm going to right click on this one and say connect object plus delete, which is just going to delete everything and leave me with the path. I'm also going to select all the selections here. Those are the selection tags and material, and say goodbye to it. The only reason I keep this is just to show you that underneath I have another null object, and this one is using a live text. So just to be more organized, I'm going to take the extrude object, which was generated automatically here inside Cinema 4D. I'm going to raise it one floor above, select this null, and delete it. And by the way, you can do whatever you want underneath this main null, but do not, I repeat, do not delete this one. This null serves as a coordinates translator between the After Effects coordinates and the Cinema 4D coordinates system. As you can see in my case, it is set to -960 centimeters on the X and 540 on the Y, meaning that it basically aligns between the two different coordinate system of After Effects. Or in other words, After Effects think of the 000 point at the upper left corner of the screen and Cinema 4D and most of the applications in the world in the middle of the screen. So to summarize, just make sure not to touch this null, do not delete it, you can rename it, but don't remove it from the scene. All right. So now let's deal with the text. I'm going to select it over here. And where it says kerning, I'm going to enable Show 3D Graphic User Interface, which is going to show me above every character a little indicator that I can use to move those letters and create the same kerning that I created inside After Effects. And now I'm going to temporarily hide this path. I'm going to use it in a later stage, but now I'm going to hold down Option here on the Mac, Alt on Windows, and double click on this traffic light to remove it from the viewer and from the renderer. So it's still there, but we are not seeing it. Okay, I'm going to go now to the sky object, click and hold, and then I'll add a background layer. And then I'll drag a Finder window just so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to take the Paris video that I'm using, drag and drop it from the Finder on top of this background. And this is going to assign a material for it. I'll click on the material, actually double click on it. And then in the viewport, I'll change it to Animate Preview. And the texture preview size, I'll set to no scaling. And this is going to serve as a reference. So I can check that everything is working. Basically, I brought the video layer here inside Cinema 4D as a 2D layer just behind everything else. Now, just so it will be easier to work, I'm going to switch off the work plane and the horizon line. You can do it by going to the filter menu over here, and then under viewport, deselect the work plane as well as the horizon. Now, if I'll press play to play forward, we can see that we recreated the same thing that we have inside After Effects. Well, almost the same thing. You can see that the light here is not really looking the same way it looked inside After Effects. Now, this may be a bug, maybe this is by design. Anyhow, I'm going to show you how to fix it. I'll go to the General tab of the light, and for some reason, it lost its power. So in After Effects, the intensity was set to 100. Here, it is set to 50%. I'm going to change it to 100. And now if I press Command R, this will be Control R on Windows, I can render the frame, and we can see that we have established the same starting point here inside Cinema 4D. And now we're ready to extrude the text as well as apply some materials. So to do it, I'll select the Extrude object over here, and then go to the Object tab and drag this slider. Let's go all the way to the end to 1000 centimeters. I'm also going to park my cursor at the end so we can see what we are doing. I'll raise the subdivisions to 20 just to get a better quality. Now, because we've exported the After Effects scene, we don't need to worry about the render settings over here. So you can see that all of these are being defined from the document that we've exported. This is also true for the project preferences. So the frame rate is right, the duration is correct. I just want to call your attention to the fact that this is something that came with the file. But now let's go on with the extrusion and the look of the text. So I'll click on the caps, I'll raise the size to 10 centimeters, as well as change the bevel to render outside. And this is of course a subjective appearance choice, because I think that for these serif letters, it actually looks much nicer. But I do want to control the materials, and I can do it using those selections. So I have a couple of letters that I can memorize, or I can tick here and it will add a selection tag. So depending on how you want to work, I'm going to show you both options. And to do it, I'll head up to the Material Manager. I have a lot of unnecessary, unneeded materials here. So first, let's go to the Edit menu and choose to delete unused materials. I'm going to create two darker versions from the same material. So I'll hold down the Command key here on the Mac control on Windows and duplicate one copy, and then do the same thing, duplicate another one. I'll double click on this material and I'll change the value for the SHV to 50%. And then I'll double click over here and change this one to, let's go with 20%. So I have a mid material and a darker one. And then I'll take this material and drag it to the layer. And because it's over here, it is the last one, it is going to overtake whatever we already have. However, I'm going to take the selection tag and drag it over here. And now I'm using this material only on the shell of the letters. Let's do this number again. I'll select the darker material and then just drag and drop it to the extrude object. And this one, I actually know the selection. I remember it. It was C1. So you can just type it over here, press return, and this is going to apply it only to the start of the cup. And again, I'll press Command R to render it to the viewer. All right, now what I would like to do is create a wireframe look to those letters so they will mimic the appearance of the Eiffel Tower over here. Now, there are a couple of ways to create a wireframe look inside Cinema 4D. I'm going to show you how to do it in the full version, but if you don't have access to the full version and you're using Cinema 4D Lite, then what you should do is basically duplicate this document and create another version using the cell render. And you can do it by visiting again the render settings over here, and under Effect, there is a cell renderer. Once applied, you can tick edges and then press Command or Control R, and you can see how this is going to appear. But you will need to save another copy and then bring it to After Effects and composite both of them over there. But there is another way to work if you are working with the full version, and I think it's a little bit more flexible. So I'll say goodbye to the cell renderer, and I'm going to use the shape layer that I have over here. Actually, this is just a path. So I'll re-enable it again by Option or Alt double clicking on this traffic light. And then I'm going to hold down the Option key, Alt on Windows, click and hold on the subdivision surface icon and choose Extrude. And because the Option or Alt key was pressed, it's going to add the Extrude as a parent. And then I'm going to visit the same menu again, but this time, holding down again Option or Alt, I'll select the atom array. And this is just going to create what we need. If I'm just going to switch off the extruded text for a moment and press again Command R so you can get a sense of how this looks, you can see what we are dealing with. And by the way, if we want to hide the background video when we are rendering stuff here inside Cinema 4D, we can double click on the lower traffic light, and this is going to switch it off when we are rendering. So this is what we are getting by default. I'm going to click on the atom array here, and then where it says single elements, I'll click this option. So it will create a single element from everything. And you can already see that we are getting more or less where we want to be. I'm going to change the cylinder radius from 2 to 4. And again, press Command R to show you what we have here. And I'm going to also create a new material for it. So I'll hold down Command, Control on Windows, and duplicate another copy. Let's bring it over here. Double click on it to get to the material editor. Use the eyedropper and try to sample a color from the Eiffel Tower. Something like this I think will work. Maybe a bit more saturated and a bit more light. And then we can just drag and drop it on the motion array element. Press Command or Control R and then bring back the text, and let's see how they're both merged together. So if I'll render everything now, we are not going to see it because this atom array is at the same z-axis as the extrude object. So what we need to do is just pull it towards us on its z-axis. And this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to pull it so it will be a little bit in front of the text, and then I'll render it so we can see the result. Excellent. I'm very happy from what I have so far. So I'll save my progress. And this is going to show me a warning message that says that the version that I've saved from After Effects is older than what I'm using now. So things may not work in previous versions. I'm not concerned about it. I'm just going to say yes. And I'm going to bring After Effects back to the front and show you the progress that we've managed to achieve so far. So I'll go to the source file, I'll press Command or Control I, and I'll bring this Cinema 4D back to After Effects and just place it above all my layers. I'll switch off the text over here. I'll change the renderer to current, and we can check how this looks. In fact, I think I need to take it and place it underneath the mask. So this mask is going to hide the letters. And I'm going to go to the last frame, maybe visit the middle frame. We can also scrub the timeline to see how this looks. I think it looks great, but I am missing a couple of other 3D objects that I can add to the same document. And this is the reason why we are using the CINEWARE effect. So let's head back to Cinema 4D and add a couple of hot air balloons in the sky. So back inside Cinema 4D, I'll click on the Asset Browser, and then in the search field, I'll start to type the word balloon. And you have this model, which is also included with the light version. So I'll grab this and drag it underneath the null, the main null that I have in this scene. And it's going to appear over here. And now I can move it and scale it to the desired place. So I'll switch to the scale tool that you can get by also pressing the letter T. And just scale it like so. And then I'll press the letter E to return back to the Move tool. Let's place this guy over here. And I think it's too dark, maybe because it is not in the correct place. So let's just check where it is. I think I want to move it over here, maybe go and place it a little bit backward. So I'm just waiting for the Z-axis here. So I can push this guy and maybe bring it over here and also scale it just a little bit more. Let's check how this looks. All right, something like this, but we can obviously see that it is too dark. So to fix this, I'm going to create a light. I'll grab the light and I'll place it underneath the hot air balloon. So this means that from this point onward, it's going to travel with it. And I can also change the position of the light if I desire to do so, so it won't affect the letters too much. So something like this, I'm trying to match it to what I'm seeing in terms of the locations and the shadows of the buildings. All right, this looks quite good for this stage, but I would also like to add 2 additional balloons. So I can duplicate this one, but since I want to change the materials, the best practice here is actually to drag 2 more copies from the asset browser. So I'll drag one over here, and of course I'll need to change the scale of it. As before, I'll need to also bring it to the desired Z location. And by the way, you can select it from here and just type in the value if you know. So let's try 5,000. Let's just move it and place it over here. Press T, scale this one. And then I'll identify the material. I think that this is the one that I need to modify. So I'll double click on it and change the color to blue. And I'll do the same thing again. I'll drag another copy of the hot air balloon. I'll select it and scale it first. I'll change the Z value to 2500. And then I'll lower it. And now I need to change the color for the material of the last one. So I'll double click on this copy, change it to green. And I think I need to move it a bit more further so we can actually see the colors. Let's say thank you to the asset browser. So we'll have more room here to work. And I'm just going to scale this one and place him over here. Him, I'm not sure if this is a him or it, probably a it. All right, so at the beginning, I'm just going to move those guys. This is the green one. Let's see, this is the blue. I don't want it to hide the tower. I think I want to scale it a touch more. Let's see how this works here. Of course, I don't have the patience to play the entire thing, so I'm going to scrub it to the end, hide the material panel, and very important, I'm going to update the file. So I'm basically pressing Command or Control S to save a fresh copy. And now, if I'll return back to After Effects, we can see that After Effects is going to incorporate the changes, and you can see it also in the info panel if you are quick enough. So now what I can do is finish the compositing stage here inside After Effects. First, I need to match the colors. So I'll go to Effect, Color Correction, and add the Levels effect. I'm going to close the CINEWARE for now. I'll change the output white as well as the output black just to match the white and dark colors. Maybe also change the gamma just a touch. Then I'll return to the effect menu, and from the blur and sharpen category, I'll add the Gaussian blur effect. Let's go with a value of 3 because this is very sharp in terms of the render and we need to match it to what we are seeing underneath. And because we are working with a live Cinema 4D file inside After Effects, we can go back and forth and change our minds. For example, I can select one of the balloons over here, maybe raise it even higher. I can go to the light, which is attached to this balloon, and try to improve and match it better to the scene. Then all I need to do is press Command or Control S to update the file. Bring back After Effects to the front. You can see the message of incorporated changed footage here in the info panel, and you can go back and forth and continue to modify those layers. So this is the idea. I will stop for now. I'll make sure nothing is selected. I'll go to the beginning of the composition, and finally I'll add an adjustment layer above everything here. And to this adjustment layer, I'll add 2 effects. From the color correction category, I'll add the Lumetri color effect. I'm going to open up the creative and I'll use one of the built-in lookup tables. I'll go with this SL Iron HDR and then set the intensity to 30% so it won't be so vivid as we've just seen. And then I'm going to go back to the effect menu, and from the noise and grain category, I'll add the noise HLS auto and change this one to grain. And for the lightness, I'll set it to 2. And this is going to just add a bit of grain above everything. And of course, marry all of these together. And that's it. I'll maximize the composition panel by pressing the grab or tilde key, and I'll preview the result. Wow, if you made it to the end of this video, I am so proud of you. I hope it was useful information and now you have more tools to help you integrate After Effects and Cinema 4D using the CINEWARE effect. And if this is the case, please like this video and also consider subscribing to the channel. Why? Because we've only scratched the surface of what's possible here. In future tutorials, I'm planning to revisit this workflow and show you even more things you can achieve with this technology. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to share them in the comments below. And until then, au revoir and restez créatifs.